Malchus, moment from Parshas Bolok Yud Beis Tammuz. I'm not sure if this mimer is going to have a hemshech in the next Dvar Malchus. Yerd miyom ad nuyom u'menahar ad afsi oretz, and he will rule. It says about Mashiach, he will rule from sea to sea until, and from the river until the ends of the earth. This was actually in that year, the Rebbe was saying, Perek Ayin Beis, and this is a pasuk from Perek Ayin Beis, and it has to do with another pasuk in Parshas Bolok that also says a similar type of vein about how Mashiach will rule from sea to sea, etc. In the commentaries on Tillim, it's explained two explanations in the simple meaning of this pasuk. What does this pasuk say? One explanation is that it's referring to what it says at the beginning of the Mizmor. It speaks about L'Shloima. It speaks about Shloima now. Even though I said before that we were talking about David, about Mashiach, but one of the Mefarshim, some of the Mefarshim explained that's going on Shloima Melech, because that's who it's talking about at the beginning of that capital Ayin Beis Mitzil. Behind this means in the V'yerd Midyam Ad Yom Hayim Mei Shloima Melech. That this idea that it says about that he will rule from sea to sea, that is something that was about Shlomo Melech, because he was in a Moshel Kippel we're going to talk about. He was a superpower at that time. Pirish Hasheni, another explanation. This pasuk is Shekoya Imos Mashiach. That's referring to the times of Mashiach. This is one of the explanations in Rashi, and also is connected with a Rashi in Parshas Bolok when this mimer was said. According to both Pirush, whether it's talking about Shlomo Melech that ruled from sea to sea, or it's talking about Mashiach, we still need to explain. Why does he describe? Why does the pasuk use as a description of ruling over the whole dome, meaning over the entire world, of the entire world, through describing it that they're ruling from sea to sea and from the river till the ends of the earth. Why specifically this description? Similar question by what the Rambam writes in Hilchos Malachim concerning Mashiach, that he talks about in Hilchos Malachim. He brings that in Torah Shebeksav there's different references to Mashiach, and he brings different places in Chumash and in Tanakh where it refers to Mashiach. And maybe Gam Shenamar by Nevuah Zechariah, he brings also concerning Mashiach where it says in the Nevuah Zechariah, Umashloi miyam ad yam, very similar. Umashloi of a year, that means also that he reigned, he rules from sea to sea. Umenahar ad afsi oretz, from the river till the ends of the earth. So the same question is on that pasuk. Why doesn't it say in the entire world or a similar expression? Why does he use al miyam ad yam, from sea to sea? Also, what is it adding by saying, after saying from sea to sea, which seems to indicate from the sea at one end of the world to the other end of the world? What does he add by saying from the river till the ends of the earth? The Maya suffered the menor dafsior so much cost of yom ad yom. Shmash muusik amugam the signum aksuvin. That from sea to sea, from the simple reading of the psukim, seems to indicate the entire area of the globe. And either way, you can ask the other way around. Once it says till the ends of the earth, what does it add by saying from sea to sea? So either way, why do you have to say any of these? Don't say from sea to sea. I'll say from the river to the ends of the earth. Different to this, after explaining this matter, There could be many explanations, meaning, for example, in Pashtoni Amikra, in other types of commentary on Tehillim and on Zechariah and so on, there are definitely different types of ways of explaining the differences from Yom to Yom versus Marad Afsi Yoretz. And there's, according to Chassidus, also the meaning of what this particularly is supposed to mean. We also have to explain what is the outcome in actuality once we understand, even according to Chassidus or according to the other Pshutim, Pirushim, what is Yom ad Yom and what's Nor ad Afsi Yoretz, what is the practical implications. So, why do we have to have the practical implications? But the Rebbe says that even when you learn Nigla, you need to know the practical. Like we find even in the simple study of Gemara, when there's different opinions, the Gemara explains what is the difference. In other words, sometimes the Gemara will say, this one explains it this way, this one explains it that way. And then the Gemara will ask, what's the difference in the explanation? Is there any halachic difference? And we'll say, yes, there's a halachic, practical halacha. What is the difference concerning actual doing of a particular mitzvah based on whatever dispute about reasoning? So from the fact that even in Nigla, it always wants to have not just a difference of opinion in svara, in reasoning, but it wants to bring out this difference in reasoning to an actual halacha. From this to prove in every matter of Torah, top of page kafei, there has to be a matter of what's the difference, what's the difference between the different things when it comes to actuality. Like the very well-known expression, the greatness of studies that brings to action. So therefore, everything we learn in Torah needs to have a practical application in our avodah. So in a similar vein, what it says concerning Mashiach, he will rule from sea to sea. Maybe a Rambam or the pasuk that the Rambam brings, they shall rule from sea to sea, ומנהר עד אפסי ארץ, and from the river till the end of the earth. Yes, there is an actuality of it, there is a practical aspect of it. That in this practical application, it matters specifically why it's from sea to sea and not some other type of description which would indicate that Mashiach rules over the entire world. Place based line. Given back the Mashiach Rabbeinu Azak. This will be understood by prophecy. What the Alter Rebbe explains concerning the coming of Mashiach and the days of Mashiach. The ultimate perfection of the days of Mashiach is dependent on our actions and our service for the entire time, throughout the entire time duration of the goals. Meaning, through this, that you will listen to his voice. The limud ha-Torah v'kiyum ha-mitzvahs, and the study of Torah and fulfilling of mitzvahs. Every person prepares himself and the world, specifically Yidden, to the coming of Mashiach, shall be kindness and in mercy, and very soon. Meaning that the Rebbe is playing off the famous Maimer Chazal about the person that asked, when is Mashiach coming? And then he said, Hayoim, today, and then he didn't come. He came back and asked him, what do you mean today? So it says, Hayoim im bekolet tishmo. Today, if you will listen to my voice. So we see that listening to Hashem's voice, following Torah mitzvahs, that brings about the coming of Mashiach. And that the coming of Mashiach should be in a kind and compassionate way, in a speedy way. The Rebbe continues, line 16, since Hashem's measure is measure for measure, how they move, and so it's understood. Also, our actions and service has to be similar to whatever matter we're trying and we're hoping for that shall be with the coming of Mashiach. So it's not just a general idea. We want Mashiach to come, we got to do Torah mitzvahs. But there's even a specific relationship that Rebbe often brings down. When we're talking about a specific concept, a specific idea, a specific type of miraculous thing or special thing or unique thing that's going to happen when Mashiach comes. So in our avodah, since our avodah is what brings about that special thing of Mashiach's time, so there has to be in our avodah something that corresponds to that, something that reflects that. In other words, similar to the idea that when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a revelation of godliness, and we're all going to know about Hashem and so on. So in our avodah as well, we need to have a Fatzamayonis Chutza. We have to spread the wellsprings of Chassidus outward. We have to learn Pnimius HaTorah, and by studying Pnimius HaTorah, studying the knowledge of Hashem now, this brings the outcome of Mashiach's times to have the knowledge of Hashem filling the world. So the Rebbe is going to apply this also concerning what we're talking now about, that Mashiach will rule from sea to sea, and seeing how that applies in our avodah as well, whatever that represents. Line 19. So it should be able to be that he rules. That's the expression that's used in Zechariah or V'yerd, which is the pasuk in Tillim, from sea to sea and from the river till the ends of the earth. Therefore, our actions and service has to have something corresponding to this, similar to this in our avoid. So the Rebbe adds another aspect. You could say, Klal Yisrael has to do this, or great tzaddikim have to do it. But Mashiach is going to come to redeem every individual. Therefore, it's whatever this idea is of ruling from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth has to be found measure for measure by every single Yid as an individual. They themselves in their avodah, every single Yid and on my own avodah has to have this as well. So I'm moving for this understood. Avodah Hashem, the service of Hashem, and the character traits of a person's soul, and the thought, speech, and deed of a person. There are matters that are called sea. And in those matters that are called sea, there are two seas. That's why it says miyam ad yam, from sea to sea. Obviously, we're talking about separate seas. And there's also the matters that are called in a person's nefesh, in a person's service of Hashem. There are things that are called rivers, and there are things that are called the ends of the earth. It's the power and capability of every Yid. Like the Chazal use the term harishus nisunam, that the permission was given and also the capability and rulership was given. To fulfill the command that you shall choose life, and to act in such a way that it says in the pasuk, in that same pasuk in Tehillim, where it says V'yerd miyam v'ad yam, it says also over there that your rules to the king you will give. What does that mean? The Rebbe explains this means your laws, your rules, that's the laws of Hashem. And you're giving it to a king. Who is the king that he's giving it to? Every single Yid is called, Shenikra Melech is called a king. He acts according to your rules, Mishpatecha. Concerning the Bnei Yisrael, says, you will be for me a kingdom of Koyanim, Loidak b'nei Melachim, not only princes, children of kings, like it also says in that Perek Tilim, Kapitel Ein Beis, Koskol ben Melech, your righteousness you give to princes, Elam Melech, but ye not called a king. Like top of page, like it says in Tikkun Zohar, how every Yid is called a king. Therefore, when it says Mishpatecha Lemelech Tain, that means that every Yid has these rules that he's given by Hashem, and he can choose to do these rules and follow through and bring out the Yed Miyam Ad Yom and Aradapsioretz, to put an effort to affect upon himself beyond Yom Ad Yom and Aradapsioretz, that it should be from sea to sea and from the river till the ends of the earth. Shaboy, that's within him, Ha'inyan dir Vayerd. He should affect in him the idea of Vayerd, Uredu. Uredu, it says the first time we have that Lashon is it says that when Hashem created Adam Arishon, he said, Uredu b'dgas hayom, from the word rulership, that he's ruling over them. Similar to the way that's going to be. Vayer, that's going to be in the coming of Mashiach in the entire world. So in other words, everyone personally has his own Yom Ad Yom and Nohar Ad Afsi Yoretz. And everyone personally could within himself rule over that Yom Ad Yom and Nohar Ad Afsi Yoretz. Just like in the outer world, Mashiach is going to rule over the entire world, to fix up the world under the kingdom of the Hashem. Through affecting within himself that his individual spark of Mashiach, his internal personal spark of Mashiach. So he says right away in the brackets, what is this? What am I talking about? About an internal individual spark of Mashiach. So he says, like it's brought down in the Chassidus Sefer from the Chernobyl, I think it is. It says, in every single individual Yid, there's a spark of Mashiach. It's hinted also in the pasuk of Parshas Balak as well. That a star will shoot out from Yankov and will arise a shoot from Yisrael. That even though it's referring to Mashiach, but they will come from Yisrael, meaning it's internal in every single Yid. This shoot, this star, that's Yaakov. That's Mashiach. And this is reflecting the fact that there's a spark of Mashiach in every Yid. This is like the corollary to or reflective of the fact just like Mashiach is a general neshama that has in him the sparks of all neshamas of Yidden, so it's the other way around, that in every Yid there's a spark of Mashiach. So that spark of Mashiach within every Yid, just like the Mashiach HaKloli, that includes all the Yid Jewish sparks, will be ruling from sea to sea, etc. So to the individual spark of Mashiach within every Yid, line 12, from the Vierd Miyam Ad Yom Menara Dafsiotis will be in such a way they rule from sea to sea and from the river till the ends of the earth. Rambam, according to what the Rambam wrote, every person has to look at the entire world, that it's equally balanced, half good and half the opposite. And the same thing he has to look about himself, that he is half good and half the other. So therefore, when you're holding on the scale and it's equally balanced, what happens? Awesome mitzvah achas, if he does one mitzvah, and that mitzvah can be in ma'aser, in action, or I feel a dibur, and machshav, or even speech or thought. So then, so then he tilts the scale for himself and for the entire world to the side of merit. And then when he tilts the entire world and himself to the side of merit, he will not just have his internal ruling from sea to sea and ruling over the river to the ends of the earth, but he will actually be the one that affects that we're going to have through Mashiach, the ruling from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. The true and complete redemption for the entire Klal Yisrael, not just for his own personal sea to sea. He's also, metaphorically speaking, also affecting a geula for Hashem. Because the Shekhinah is also in exile along with the Bnei Yisrael. So therefore, when he redeems himself, and through that the entire Klal Yisrael is also causing the redemption of the Shekhinah, and this all comes from ruling over his own Yam Ad Yam and Nor Vadafsi. So now we need to understand what are these two Yamim. What is it referring to? What is it Nefesh Adam? What does it mean in my Ma'aser? Line 22 is the Indian explanation of this matter is the Indian Shnei Yamim. The idea of the two seas, Yom Ad Yom, from sea to sea. Yuvim Pasuk Noiser Shnamar Ben Nevuah Zechariah Tzimai Mashiach. It'll be understood from an additional pasuk that says in the Nevuah of Zechariah about the days of Mashiach. It says V'hoya B'Yom Ahu, and it will be in that day Yetzu Ma'im Chayim Yerushalayim, living waters, wellspring waters will go out from Yerushalayim. And Yerushalayim is known as Mekoymei Shel Mashiach, the place of Mashiach. Chetyam Elayom HaKadmoni. Half of these waters are going to go to the eastern sea. If I remember correctly, some Mefarshim explained that the eastern sea is actually referring to the Yam HaMelach, being on the east of Eretz Yisrael, next to present-day Jordan. So that will miraculously become transformed through these waters that are coming from Yerushalayim, be miraculously transformed to being sweet water again instead of being salty. And the other half will go out from Yerushalayim and go to the latter sea. And if I think that's referring to the Mediterranean. But regardless of what that means, here we're going to explain this according to that's what it says in Zechariah, that he will rule from sea to sea. Or like the expression or the language used in Tillim. Instead of the word mashla, he uses the word yerd, from sea to sea. So from another place in Zechariah, we know that what are these sea to seas referring to? Shem Yama Kadmoni of Yama Achron. This is the eastern sea and the final and latter sea. Now we're going to explain what this is. We're going to explain what this is all about. What are these seas that he's the spiritual concept of these seas? This will be understood by first prefacing what's explained in a different place in Amar Chassidus concerning the two ideas that there is to be found in a sea. The sea, the Rebbe is going to explain, is both a receptacle for rivers that flow into it, and it's also an originator for the waters that will come out into the rivers. The Iniksiv, it says in the pasuk, that all the rivers end up into the sea. They go all towards the sea. And then it says further in the pasuk that they return to go, meaning that from the sea they are returned back to the rivers. This means that the sea receives and gathers the water from all the rivers. Top of page from this is how the sea comes into being from the addition of all the rivers coming in there. Afterwards, they return to go back to the place where they're going from. What does that mean? How do they return? The sea waters return to underground type of canals or veins of water, the way it's used the term in certain Mamar Chassidus. Lost my place 1 second. And from that afterwards comes the rivers, because those underwater canals or veins form springs, and those springs spread out and become rivers. So you have that the sea has the two components. There's two aspects in the sea. One aspect in the sea is that's the final, it's the last, it's the end, meaning it's the last stop. It's the way the sea gathers into it and collects into it from all the rivers. That from that it becomes a great sea. So that's why it's called Yam Ha'achar, and it's the last stop. It's receiving from all the waters, the rivers that are coming before. Yes, there's also literally kadmon means that which precedes, an originator, a beginning. There's the seed, the way it's an originator, a beginning. It precedes all the rivers and all the waters in the world. That's the primary source of the waters of the rivers. They are derived from the sea. Now the Rebbe is going to say the truth is that we know also that a lot comes from clouds. Clouds cause it. So he says in line 8, also rainwater that irrigate and come down into the sea, that come from the clouds. So the truth is, it's not something separate than the sea giving water to the rivers. But also the clouds are also a result of the sea. It's through the sun heating up the waters of the sea. Like it says, that vapor will rise up from the earth, and from that it will irrigate the earth, meaning the vapor goes up, turns into clouds, and then it spreads the water over the entire earth. To give forth the growth of all species of growing things. And not only is it going to be vihishka to be able to make vegetation grow, but this also is dependent, all living animals are dependent upon the water that comes up from the sea and turns into clouds and irrigates the earth, because they live off of the vegetation. And human beings live off of the vegetation as well, from pashut bread, staple of our diet. It comes from the rain, and the rain comes from the clouds. The clouds are coming also from the sea. Therefore, the quality of the water which irrigates the earth, which makes the earth moist and wet, matters it matters how good the water is. If they are sweet waters, or they are living waters, like waters that come from wellspring, or heaven forbid, the opposite, like we had in the story in that the Eden came to Mara and the water was bitter and they couldn't drink it, etc., etc. So we see how important it is, the quality of the water as well, because it's not just that water is important for vegetation, it's important for all living beings upon the earth. Anyway, so this was what we explained about what is water, what is the sea in the physical earth, what's the last sea, that's the sea that receives from all the rivers, and then the first sea, the early sea, is the one that gives all the rivers the water, either through these underground canals, or that the sea becomes vapor, and from that becomes cloud, and from that there's more river water. Tomorrow we're going to continue and explain what these two things are in the nefesh ha'adam, in the person's character traits of his nefesh.